Chosen one, lock your attention on this message right now. That restless feeling that has been following you around for days. I need you to understand where it is coming from. The enemy is working overtime today for one reason and one reason only. He knows what is arriving at your door within the next 24 hours. It all shifts tomorrow. The waiting, the silence, the unanswered prayers. But here is what you need to hear clearly. It is not shifting because of coincidence. It is shifting because of what you have done. Think back to that moment this week when something in you wanted to force an outcome. When you wanted to make a phone call you knew you should not make. Send a message that would have exposed your desperation. Push a door open that was not yours to push. But you did not. You pulled back. You waited. You trusted. You did not know it then, but that restraint was not weakness. That was the act that unlocked the door to what is coming. You did not find this recording by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here. The Holy Spirit did. This is a divine appointment, scheduled before the foundations of the earth. You are standing at a threshold, and you needed to hear this before tomorrow arrived. Stay until the very last word of this message. In the next few minutes, I am going to hand you the exact spiritual verdict that explains why an unexpected offer is about to break through every wall the enemy built around your finances, your relationships, your purpose. I am going to walk you through the divine alignment audit so you can recognize the offer when it comes and not dismiss it as coincidence. And at the end, I am going to seal this moment with a declaration that positions you to receive it without hesitation. Do not click away. Your future self is standing on the other side of what I am about to say, begging you to listen. If you leave now, you leave before the verdict is read. I know what the last 72 hours have felt like. It has not just been quiet. It has not just been quiet. It has been the kind of heavy that presses on your chest without a name, like the air before a storm breaks open. Maybe you were lying awake at 3:00 in the morning this week, staring at the ceiling, running numbers in your mind that never seem to add up, rehearsing conversations that have not happened yet, trying to solve a problem that will not let you rest. Or maybe you were sitting alone yesterday, scrolling past the highlight reels of other people's breakthroughs, wondering why the doors that seem to open so easily for everyone else have felt sealed shut for you. Or perhaps you were on the edge of giving up on a specific thing entirely, telling yourself that maybe the promise was not for you after all. You feel suspended, like you are standing in a corridor between two seasons, and neither door will open on your timeline. And in that corridor, the enemy has been whispering a very specific lie. Listen to your own thoughts right now. He has been telling you that the offer is never coming, that you have somehow miscalculated your faith, misread the signs, or disqualified yourself through a past decision. He keeps replaying that moment, the moment when you said the wrong thing, the moment when you made a choice out of fear instead of faith, the moment when you let something go that you were not sure you were supposed to release. And he has been telling you that because of that moment, the blessing rerouted, that it passed over you and landed somewhere else. But I need you to hear what the scripture actually says about this moment. Romans 11:29 says, "For the gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable." Listen to that word, irrevocable. It cannot be cancelled. It cannot be reassigned. It cannot be reassigned. It cannot be revoked based on a moment of weakness, a season of silence, or a decision made in fear. God does not operate on a return policy. What He placed in motion for your life before you were formed is still in motion right now, today, in this hour. The enemy cannot revoke what God has already stamped with a seal. The heaviness you feel right now is not the weight of abandonment. It is the weight of arrival. It is the pressure of something so large moving into position that you can feel the atmosphere shifting before you can see it with your eyes. What you thought was delay was preparation. What you thought was silence was repositioning. And what you thought was your worst moment, that moment of pulling back, of letting go, of staying silent, was actually the spiritual signal that released heaven to move on your behalf. You are not waiting anymore. The offer is already in motion. Tomorrow, something unexpected is going to find you, not because you chased it, because you finally stopped chasing it and trusted the one who promised it. That was not defeat. That was alignment. Some messages don't just inform, they activate. If something stirred deep in your spirit just now, you may be ready to receive the Chosen One's blueprint. This sacred guide reveals the 8 divine patterns behind your calling, your suffering, and your destiny. It also comes with the full audiobook, so you can absorb it during prayer, rest, or quiet moments with God. And for those called to speak His truth, you'll also receive Activating Your Prophet Mantle, a powerful bonus ebook for those carrying a prophetic assignment. The link is in the first pinned comment, but only for a limited time. Now let's go deeper, because what I'm about to share with you isn't something most people are willing to sit with, and I need you to stay with me. Because the insight that's coming in just a few moments is the one that will finally make sense of everything you've been carrying. Here's what nobody tells you about the season right before your breakthrough. It doesn't feel like a blessing is approaching. It feels like abandonment. It feels like silence. It feels like every door you've knocked on has been nailed shut from the other side, and you're standing in a hallway that seems to have no end. It's a desolate landscape, a spiritual desert, where the wellsprings of hope seem to have run dry. You start wondering if you misheard God, if the whispered promise was merely an echo of your own longing. You start questioning whether the promise was ever real, if it was just a mirage shimmering on the horizon of your faith. And in that questioning, something subtle begins to happen. You start shrinking, not dramatically, not all at once, but slowly, quietly, you begin to make yourself smaller than the calling placed on your life before you ever drew your first breath. It's like a seed that, sensing the harshness of the soil, retracts its potential, refusing to sprout. You begin to dim your own light, to mute the vibrant colors of your calling, to fit into a smaller box than the one God designed for you. That shrinking, that is the real enemy. Not the delay, not the closed doors, not even the people who walked away, those who were never meant to be permanent fixtures in your journey. The real threat in this season is that you will talk yourself out of your own destiny before it arrives. It's the internal sabotage, the whispered doubts that become a deafening roar, drowning out the voice of the Almighty. It's the subtle erosion of your divine identity, the slow surrender to the notion that perhaps you're not meant for the grand narrative God has written for you. Think about what happened to Moses in the wilderness. 40 years, not 40 days. 40 years of tending someone else's flock, living in a land that wasn't his, doing work that had nothing to do with what he was born for. Imagine him, a prince of Egypt, now a shepherd in Midian, his hands calloused not from wielding authority, but from guiding sheep. And if you had looked at Moses from the outside during those 40 years, nothing about his life would have suggested that he was days away from a burning bush. Nothing would have hinted that the man who once fled Egypt in disgrace, a fugitive haunted by his past, was about to walk back in as the instrument of the most powerful deliverance in human history. The silence looked like failure, an echoing void where purpose should have been. The distance looked like abandonment, a vast chasm separating him from his destiny. But heaven was preparing what Moses couldn't see, in a timeline Moses couldn't control. It was a divine incubation period, a sacred season of recalibration. And here's where it goes deeper, because what God was doing in that wilderness wasn't just preparing Moses for a mission. He was removing from Moses everything Moses thought he needed to fulfill it. The palace training, gone. The Egyptian identity, gone. The vestiges of his privileged past dissolved like mist. The self-sufficiency, gone. The reliance on his own intellect and strength, dismantled. God had to strip him down to nothing, to hollow him out like a reed, so that when the burning bush came, a celestial encounter that would shake nations, Moses would know beyond all doubt that whatever was about to happen wasn't coming from him. It was coming through him. This is the profound shift from self-powered ambition to God-empowered conduit. That distinction changes everything. It's the difference between trying to build a skyscraper with your own hands and being the operator of a divine crane. Because right now you may be interpreting your stripping as punishment. You may be reading your emptiness as evidence that God forgot you, that you've been relegated to the forgotten archives of His plan. But what if the emptiness is intentional? What if God is clearing space, Not just in your schedule, not just in your finances, not just in your relationships, those external containers of our lives, but in your soul. What if the people who left weren't taken from you, but removed for you, like surgeons carefully excising a malignancy? What if the opportunities that fell apart didn't fail, but were divinely dismantled because they would have led you somewhere God never intended you to go? A detour into a spiritual dead end. This is the part most people miss. They spend so much time mourning what was lost, like David weeping for his child, that they never stop to ask who they are becoming in the loss. They grieve the door that closed, the comfortable room that was locked, and never notice the foundation that's being laid beneath their feet, a bedrock for something far grander. But you have to be different. You have to possess the spiritual maturity, the divinely infused vision, to look at your wilderness, your barren landscape, and say, something is being built here that my natural eyes cannot yet see. It's a nascent structure of destiny, taking shape in the unseen realm. And what's coming next will likely surprise you, because it always does. God's creative genius rarely adheres to our predictable blueprints. There's a pattern God uses with every person he is about to elevate, and it follows the same sequence every single time. It's a divine rhythm, a choreography of the soul. First, there is the promise, that moment of clarity where something ignites inside of you, a celestial spark, and you know with the certainty of granite that you were made for something significant. It's a word, a vision, a deep inner knowing. Then comes the contradiction. The season where everything seems to move in the opposite direction of what was promised. It's the storm that rages after the sun was foretold. The promise of a fruitful vineyard yields only thorns. And then, just before the fulfillment, comes what I can only call the test of proximity. Not a test of your ability, of your prowess or your skills. Not a test of your faith in abstract terms, in theoretical belief, but a test of whether you will remain close to God when closeness costs you something, when proximity to the divine demands sacrifice, discomfort, or the relinquishing of your own will. David understood this. After Samuel anointed him king, a profound declaration of his future, David didn't go to the palace. He didn't ascend to the gilded halls of power. He went back to the field, back to the sheep, back to obscurity, to the quiet anonymity he had known before the anointing. And then he went to war, facing down giants and armies. And then he went to a cave, a place of refuge and perhaps of deep despair. And the psalms that came out of that cave, the cries, the confusion, the raw and honest wrestling with God, the vulnerability laid bare before the Creator, those weren't the words of a man who had given up on the promise. They were the words of a man who was choosing intimacy over comfort, a deep communion with the divine over the ease of temporal security, who was deciding that even if the promise was delayed, even if the throne seemed impossible, he would rather be close to God in the cave, breathing in the sacred atmosphere of his presence, than distant from God in the palace, surrounded by earthly splendor, but spiritually barren. That is the invitation being extended to you right now. It is a divine beckoning, a gentle but insistent pull towards the heart of God, not to push harder, not to strategize more, to concoct elaborate plans that mimic divine intervention, not to hustle your way into what can only be received through grace. The invitation is to come closer, to stop running from the silence, that unsettling quiet that screams of unmet expectations, and instead sit in it long enough to hear what God is actually saying underneath the noise of your fear, your anxiety, and your doubt. It's in the stillness that the divine whispers are heard. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share next is the part that breaks the cycle. This is the key that unlocks the chains of spiritual stagnation. There is a counterfeit version of faith that many people are operating in, and it is costing them everything. It looks like faith. It uses the language of faith, the lexicon of belief and trust. But underneath it, if you press past the surface, what you find isn't trust. It's control wearing a spiritual mask, a wolf in sheep's clothing masquerading as devotion. It sounds like, God, I believe you, but let me also have this backup plan. This safety net woven from my own anxieties. It sounds like, I trust your timing. But just in case, let me force this door open a little, nudging divine providence with my own hurried hands. It sounds like surrender, like a bowing of the head, but it never actually lets go. It's a partial yielding, a conditional submission. And God, in His infinite mercy and perfect wisdom, will not compete with that. He will wait. He will be patient, observing the unfolding of your efforts. He will let you exhaust every strategy, every connection, every plan B and plan C, until you finally arrive at the place where you have nothing left to offer but yourself, stripped bare and utterly dependent. Because that is what He wanted all along. It's not about your grand achievements, but your humble heart. Not your plan, not your resources, your carefully hoarded wealth or influence. Not your network or your talent or your perfectly crafted vision board, a testament to your ambition. He wanted you, fully present, fully available, fully surrendered. Not because God is demanding like a cosmic overlord seeking obedience for obedience's sake, but because He knows something you don't, that your greatest strength, when surrendered to His will, becomes something supernatural, a force multiplier for His kingdom. And your greatest gift, when released through Him and not through your own ambition, carries a weight and a reach that no human strategy could ever manufacture. It's the difference between a single candle and a stadium of light. This is where the real transformation begins, and this is also where most people stop. They reach the precipice of true surrender and pull back, clinging to the familiar. Because what I'm about to say next confronts something that lives at the very center of the delay. Something hidden, something most won't acknowledge, even to themselves. It's the root that festers beneath the surface of our spiritual lives. The offer that is coming, and it is coming, mark my words, it will not look the way you imagined. Let me say that again, because it needs to land, to penetrate the deepest chambers of your heart. What God is about to send into your life will not match the picture you've been holding in your mind, that idealized vision constructed from desires and expectations. It may come through a person you overlooked, someone considered too insignificant to be a vessel of divine intervention. It may come through a door that looks too small to be significant, a humble entryway to a grand destiny. It may come with an instruction that doesn't make logical sense, a directive that appears foolish to the natural mind. And if you are not spiritually awake, if your eyes are not attuned to the nuances of divine communication, you will let it pass. You will be so focused on the version of your blessing that you constructed in your mind, the one that fits your preconceived notions, that you will miss the version God actually prepared, the one divinely tailored for your transformation. Think about Naaman, a great commander, a powerful man, struck with leprosy, a disease that rendered him an outcast, a living death. And when he finally came to the prophet Elisha for healing, a journey fraught with anticipation and desperation, the instruction he received was so underwhelming, go wash in the Jordan River 7 times, that he almost walked away offended. His pride, his sense of his own importance, was a formidable barrier. Almost let pride rob him of his miracle, because the method didn't match his expectation. The simplicity of the command failed to impress his status. It took the wisdom of someone close to him, a gentle but firm voice of reason, to say, if the prophet had told you to do something great, would you not have done it? A challenge to his pride and his willingness to obey. How much more when he says simply, wash and be clean? A call to humility and obedience in the face of divine simplicity. Simplicity is not weakness, and an unexpected vessel is not a lesser blessing. A diamond can be found in the rough, a treasure unearthed from humble origins. The offer coming into your life may not arrive with fanfare. It may not be announced with trumpets and dazzling displays of cosmic power. It may slide into your awareness quietly, wrapped in ordinary packaging, like a simple gift delivered without ceremony. But underneath that ordinary packaging will be the fingerprints of God, the unmistakable signature of the divine. And you will recognize it, not with your mind, that analytical processor of logic and reason, but with your spirit, that inner compass divinely attuned to the frequency of heaven. Because your spirit has been being prepared for this exact moment longer than you know. It's been a silent apprenticeship, a cosmic preparation. And here's the part you probably didn't expect. This is the hidden layer, the deep truth that underpins the waiting. The reason you haven't received it yet, the real reason, is not because you haven't prayed enough, though prayer is vital. It's not because the enemy is too strong, though his tactics are cunning. It's not even because the timing hasn't come, though divine timing is sovereign. The reason the offer hasn't arrived is because there is still a version of you that isn't ready to steward what it carries. There is a part of you, buried beneath the faith, beneath the declarations, beneath the spiritual disciplines you diligently practice, that still believes deep down in the marrow of your bones that you are not worthy of what God promised. That still carries an old wound, a deep scar from past hurts, that tells you people like you, with your history, with your perceived flaws, don't get to have things like this. That still flinches when good things come too close, like a creature startled by sudden light, because something in your history taught you that good things eventually leave, that joy is ephemeral and always followed by sorrow. Until that root is healed, not managed, not worked around, not ignored as if it doesn't exist, it will keep doing what roots do. It will keep influencing everything that grows from it, subtly poisoning the fruit, and every blessing that reaches your soil will be filtered through that wound, tainted by its presence, before it can take root and flourish in your life. It's like trying to grow a vibrant garden in soil contaminated with a persistent blight. This is the final frontier. This is the thing beneath the thing, the underlying cause that dictates the effect. And God is not asking you to be perfect before He moves, to present a flawless facade. He's asking you to be honest, to stop performing wholeness, to cease the pretense, and instead receive it, to allow it to seep into your very being, to stop pretending the wound isn't there, to acknowledge its existence and instead bring it into the light, the radiant light of His presence, where healing can actually happen. For in His light we find our restoration. Because when that shifts, and it can shift today, it can shift in this very moment, as a wave of divine grace washes over you. When that shifts, everything else shifts with it. The offer that's coming won't be blocked by your unworthiness anymore. The door that opens won't be shut by your fear, that trembling hand that tries to hold it closed. The person who steps into your life won't be pushed away by the part of you that still doesn't believe you deserve to be loved and chosen and used by God for something extraordinary, something magnificent, something that echoes His glory. Place your hand on your heart and declare this with me. Feel the truth of these words resonating within you, activating the dormant power of your divine inheritance. I release every agreement I have made with unworthiness. I break every lie that told me I was too broken, too late, or too ordinary for what God has placed in me. I release the wounds that have been filtering my blessings, and I invite healing into every hidden place. I am not waiting for permission to step into my purpose. My purpose was assigned before I was born, and it cannot be revoked. I open my hands to receive what heaven has already prepared. I open my eyes to recognize the offer when it arrives. Even if it looks nothing like I imagined, I will not shrink. I will not second guess. I will not let fear speak louder than faith in this season. I am chosen. I am ready. And I receive right now with my whole heart everything God has ordained for this moment in my life. It is already done. And so it is.